Hey Deborah, how are you?
Hi, John. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you for sharing your morning with me.
Oh, thanks for being here. We're across the coast or across the country this time, but yeah,
Oh yeah, I
thanks
guess
for
it's
sharing.
afternoon for you.
That's okay. What time is an illusion? What it has no meaning, right?
It is. So, this is our introduction episode of the Just One Thing podcast. And I'm so grateful that you invited me to be here with you. Do you want to start by introducing yourself and telling everybody what you do and who you are?
Sure. So, as one of our marketing gurus would say, I will introduce myself as follows. I'm Deborah Rohalski. I'm a cosmic adventurer. I'm an inspiring intuitive artist and a courageous angel oracle, which basically means I make paintings for people that translates the energy of colors that come from messages from angels and their guides so that they have this piece of personal energy art that can sort of help them focus their energy on their path.
I
So,
actually have one of your paintings right here. It's always with me every time I'm on video. It's right here, giving me the confidence and the courage to put myself out there.
well, and in fairness, I have one of your amazing angel prints. This is the Archangel Michael one that was on the back when you could get them on the acrylic blocks. That's my Archangel Michael buddy. He's like right there. So there you go. I do
Awesome.
duetting art prints. And when I'm not doing cosmic stuff, I'm out there on the trails, bird watching and just hiking and having fun.
That's awesome. I feel like I annoy you sometimes with all of my birding pictures. Every time I see a bird, I text you.
Remember one of the first times you did that, and you said, "What is this?" And I knew what you were asking. You want to know what bird it was, but I just texted back, "It's a bird," because that's my wicked sense of humor. And you're like, "Okay," and I go, "No, but seriously, it's whatever it was." Yeah. And the time you had the bird fly into your like little space, I was like so excited. It was like very cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So one of my this is a tangent and I apologize, but one of my dear friends in New York City was a birder, and she introduced me to birding, and we would go camping once every summer, and for like she would get like a 10-day block, and then anyone could just join her and go birding. And I have so many positive memories, and she is no longer with us. And so birding and just like being present with the birds, and I always think of her, and it's just like always really special. So
Yeah, well, and that is such a connection for me because the thing about being in nature and birds, I mean, I came to birding, only a number of years ago. I didn't start really young, but there is this kind of moment. Sometimes for me, it's almost like an angel moment. It's like, yes, it's a bird, but it's almost like an angel is singing to me. Yeah. So, John, enough about me. What about you? Who are you?
I'm also an intuitive artist. I like to use art to channel the angels and kind of inspire aligned action for my clients. So I will usually use art to provoke some questions or some nuances within the client's challenges or the blocks that they're facing, and create a plan for them to really use practical steps to promote positive change in their life. So just
Yeah,
like the birding is kind of like a bridge of the angelic and the physical worlds. I like to really get my hands dirty and take practical approaches to really make this physical experience the best that it can be.
yeah, and I've seen you in action, and I can absolutely attest to the effectiveness of that process with everybody. I think I shared this with you the first time I actually saw you doing it because I was just starting to sort of experiment with this idea of like there's something more to working with art again because I came back to it during the pandemic. I had worked in many other careers, and it was sort of a side thing. But I came back to it during the pandemic, basically just for my own mental health. But I realized that there was something about the way the colors and working with it moved energy. But I watched her process, and I go, that is so simple and so beautiful, and it's so complex. Why didn't I think of that?
Well, it's wild how the universe brought us together because I think we had both done Oracle Palooza with Colette Baron Reed. We had both kind of recently started working with Mooney, who is like a business, spiritual business coach. And then all of a sudden, I got this order on my website, and I was almost panicked because it was not uh, a period in my life where I was really promoting my work or putting myself out there, but um the universe was just like almost like pushing me off the cliff. And I think you were the first client that just like you bought it and then I had no choice but to kind of show up and answer the call.
Well,
And
I think it was because I think when you sent the email, I was that you were doing email contacts at the time, and I said, yeah, I want to do this, but you have to show up in person because I like that contact, and I know there was, and I knew that if we pushed you off the cliff, you had angels with you, and you had a really good parachute, and you would fly, and you would be fine. And here we
yeah,
are.
here we are. I never would have thought I would be on camera. But you've really been a rock on this journey, so it's special. Our paths have been in alignment, which is really cool.
And it's been very inspiring to see you face certain challenges and to get to know more about the way in which certain things in your own past have affected you. That's helped. And I think that for us, I think part of the reason we started talking about doing this that we're putting out here now was this idea of like, we have this sense of these things, we have these synchronicities, and this is working for me, this is a challenge, and the idea of like maybe we have something to share in our own stories that might help other people.
Yeah. So tell us about Jot and what the Just One Thing name really stands for and what it means.
Yeah, it came from, well, when we were talking about this idea of like getting together and talking and putting this out there. I'm like, okay, podcasting, that's exciting. I listen to lots of podcasts. And I've also always, my original, before I started doing the more spiritual things, the most public thing I had is I did have a blog out there that was just, it was my writing, and it was like I would, my thoughts, it was called Thoughts on the Path, trail mix. And it was like sometimes I'd write about birds and sometimes I'd write about hiking or whatever. But it was kind of like, it was the one thing that was on my mind at the time. And then it was something I was listening to, and somebody just said, hey, jot this down. And I went, jot, just one thing. So it's like, jot this down. And the experience of this, the idea of jotting something down, that making it, just jot this down. You're not going to write down a whole paragraph like when, if you're journaling or channeling, writings, or angel messages. It's like just this one thing. It's got to be quick, it's got to be simple, it's got to be brief, concise. Sometimes it's not even a coherent sentence. Sometimes I can't even read the writing, right? But it's like just this one thing. So the world has become so, in the last 3 years, our whole experience, the entire globe flipped on end, just things that we would never have even imagined, the whole world shutting down. It's like, and all the complexities of what came out of this, and the polarities, and us as humanity, and even as individuals, trying to navigate and move forward through all of this. And then the family dynamics that come up, and you start doing personal growth and things start happening, and it's like, oh, I now I got to heal this, and it can get very, very overwhelming, and it can get very overwhelming very quickly. Like, you think you're on this path and something comes in here, and it's, so this idea, and it came from my angels. The word they gave me for this year was simplify. As a matter of fact, I have three guardian angels, and they're like, oh, we have three words for you. And my joke I tell everybody is, okay, I'll take three words. And the first angel, Zachary, tells me, he says, okay, your word is simplify. Then my next angel, who's my sort of my hiking partner, my creative, like, she'll kick me in the butt when I really, she goes, okay, my word for you is simplify. So by the time my last angel got to me, it was like, got to her turn, I said, let me guess. So my three words were simplify, simplify, simplify. And I realized that I had been on this journey and I had this, and I'm like, I have to start focusing and simplify and say, okay, when I feel overwhelmed, what is one thing that is going to help me center, come back to self and focus so that I can create the space for myself that I can get back on track and not get too far off. And that stops the overwhelm.
That's awesome.
So, how about for you with the experience of this world right now? How has that worked out for you? And what is your one thing?
Well, I definitely agree that the energies have been very intense and overwhelming. And I choose to breathe when I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed or I'm not really feeling present. And I choose to just reconnect with my breath and to try to just be fully present in my body and to recognize that I'm safe and that everything is going to be okay. So
Mm,
it's it's hard when there are, like you said, you use the word polarizing or polarized. It's hard to feel safe when there is this like polarizing, angry, frustrated like energy kind of spewing around. And as you know, I'm on TikTok, or you're scrolling, you see all of the angry messages or the polarizing messages. And just stopping, breathing, and reminding myself that I'm here for a purpose, and that the angels have my back, and that it's all gonna be okay.
mm.
What
Okay.
about
And
you?
I think that, well, breath, I really relate to that too. And I, a little bit, it's this idea if something happens, because I used to work production and we used to do live production and you have to really think on your feet and I'm kind of used to this happen, that this happened. I think when something happens that somehow, we use this word triggered all the time. I prefer the word activate something in you. Generally, it's kind of a fear-based. We both do the Course in Miracles, fear and love. It's if it's something coming from fear, it's something that's this like throw the energy is throwing you. The first thing I have to do for myself is to create space. And this was something that I learned to do a number of years ago. Teacher, they were just like, take a deep breath in. But before I'm focusing on my breathing, I'm taking that deep breath in, and as I'm breathing in, what I'm doing is I'm pushing my energy out. My energy and only my energy and the energy of my guardian angels that are around me. Sometimes I can actually feathers around that bubble that I'm creating. Like I'm in this big, when we talk about blanket forts, it's like a feather blanket fort. It's like there. And that can happen it's gotten, as I practice it more, the practicing it when I wasn't in distress, but practicing to create that feeling when I am in a peaceful state. So I know it's there. So I create that space first. That space, I will start breathing. If my initial reaction is very panicked, if I really am like really energized, activated, slow my breath down consciously by like counting. Count in for 4, hold for 2, release for, focus on that breath. And sometimes all this stuff can be going around and I'm just standing there, and someone is yelling at me and they don't even realize that they're outside my bubble and I'm breathing, and it's like that Charlie Brown. But it does work. It does help. It brings me back back to myself.
What I like about our ability to build a blanket fort or to like return to our center, to our peace, is that both you and I are very engaged people. So we're not disengaging from society, or we're not disengaging from others holistically, but we're kind of like reclaiming our power. And it gives us the ability to like then return in a stronger form to the world, and to show up for others in a way that if we were still anxious or in our head or really like flighty, we wouldn't be as impactful. if that makes sense.
it's like the put your oxygen mask on first in the event of an emergency, and no one gets to tell you what your emergency. Define that for ourselves. So, but in the event of an emergency, put your oxygen mask for, again, breathing, right? Put the oxygen mask on first and take care of yourself, because we really helpful to other people. If it's not that we have to be perfect, it's not that we have to always be strong, it's not that we can't temp a moment earlier this morning where I was it was breakfast was a bit overdue. I was because I got involved in something else, and I was like, having an issue with a bottle of orange juice, and it was I refrained from throwing the orange juice bottle across the room. That would not have been a
I
good idea.
sometimes
But
get
we all
hangry
have
as
that.
well.
Oh yeah. Oh, my daughters used to ask me when they were little, grumpy, but I didn't realize it. They would go, Mommy, do you need a snack?" And I would realize, yes, for the good of everyone in the room. But I think, but it is, again, my daughters are like, "Mom, take care of you. We don't want you to yell at us first, right?" But and we are a very food oriented family, but it is that idea of take care of ourselves. This message of like giving and giving and giving and always being on. You know, I think we're starting to hear this a lot more, in the world, and the people who are speaking about the importance of self-care, and the idea of self-care does not have to be, I mean, a day and go to the spa, or to, you know, take a week and go to your favorite place. Or for me, I would go camping. But if you can't do that, self care can be, I need minutes to just leave the room and go, as one of our mentors said, "Need 5 minutes, and I'm going to go into another room and just stare at the wall." If that's what works, or I'm gonna sleep in tomorrow and stay in my little blanket fort in my room before I go, because yesterday was really hard. Those
Yeah.
those those things are important. But I think the key is developing the awareness of what is the one thing that's going to bring you back when you need to, in that um and practicing that when you are not in distress, practicing that when you have a regular meditate, or you do gratitudes or whatever, practicing that on a regular basis, so that it's like muscle memory. It's I'm here in New York, at my house in New York. I've been spending time out in Portland, Oregon with my daughters. Two kitchen faucets have one. In one kitchen, the faucet is up. When the handle is up, it's hot water, and in the other kitchen, it's down. And I've been there for so long. Water getting hot. Oh no, no, wait, this one is this way. It's just muscle memory, right? But how
I
gets ingrained by doing it every day. Same thing for something like centering yourself. If you
yeah, I
do
really
that,
love that
immediately
concept.
your body responds.
That I was talking with a client the other day because she had a relationship with her angels, and she was comfortable with angel work, but she only called on her angels when she was feeling anxious or she was desperately in need of something. And I was like, whoa, 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 we need to like reframe this muscle memory to build a relationship with our angels when we're feeling happy and joy, and when we're grateful. And it's not just like, oh, 911, there's an emergency. It's like we need to take a more holistic approach to this relationship. So I like that you're reminding us to do that same thing with our self-care, and not just to practice self-care when we're already feeling exhausted, but to prioritize that up front, from the beginning. So everybody jot this down, grab your pen, and write down what your one thing is to that you rely on when you need to return to center and to practice self-care.
Mhm. Yep. And if you're really new to some of these concepts and that's not something that you have, think about it. Think about, what helps you when you're best, what might work for you, what, if breathing. And the easiest thing to try is to just practice centering breathing, and maybe that's something we can do sometime for people. But if you don't know what your one thing is, see if you can find before our next episodes that is going to be your one thing. And the reason we really want you to focus on this is because in the next several episodes, we're going to be asking five big questions that are going to help us go deeper with understanding who we are and where how we are navigating this path that we are on right now. So get your one thing so that you have that ready for our next episode, and we'll see you then.
Awesome. I'm so excited to see you more often and to continue this journey.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, until next
Bye.
time.